What happens next is still up in the air. This spring, there have been a number of motorcycle accidents. Learn what is being done to help riders decrease the risk of injury. And our newest segment, a partnership with a veterinary clinic to find homes for cats and dogs. All that and more coming up next. You're watching Drum TV.
You're watching Drum TV, a weekly program for soldiers, their families, and civilian employees.
It's no secret that 20 years ago, the Army entered into an agreement with developers for what's known as 801 housing. It's now 20 years later, and those leases are about to run out. The property will return to the owners, and for those living in the units, there are more questions than answers about their future living arrangements. Specialist Jacob Smathers explains.
While this 801 housing development is in Lowville, it's like many of the others in the surrounding area. The expiration of these leases beginning in November of this year impacts hundreds of Fort Drum families. Developers promised the Army they should have a plan of action by June 1st, a plan that sets rent and who pays for utilities, determines if pets will be allowed, and if so, how many, and if you need to leave, what's available to you.
So the rents are going to vary across the sites and by virtue of the different size apartments, the 2, 3, 4-bedroom apartments. And we'll see what those look like here shortly. On the utility arrangements, they've all said pretty much the same thing. They're going to expect the future tenants to pay their utilities in their own name, as opposed to the Army paying the utilities today. We're going to have some material available here shortly that will explain how to go about setting up those utility accounts. That can all be done in the last month or so prior to the lease expiring, so there's nothing anybody has to get too involved in right soon here.
Families will need to budget for utilities, Corvo says. Across the 801 sites, utilities average $240 to $250 a month. And it's not just the owners making changes. The Army is too.
The 801 bus runs will come to an end the day the Army lease expires. There's no legal authority for the Army to keep running the shuttle bus out there if the property is no longer leased in the Army's name. So that's a given. The Army snow blowers that are out there, and there's probably 400 or 500 snow blowers across all the 801 properties, but those snow blowers are being collected now. When a home turns over right now, this week, this summer, and that resident, it happens to be the one that has a snow blower in his garage, to clear the home, that snow blower has to get turned in and get picked up by the DOL and put back on their property books and off the soldier's hand receipt so we can clear the house. As we get down towards the end of the summer, we're going to go out and pick up the rest of them, even for families that aren't moving out this summer.
On-post housing is an option, but it's not one that will happen overnight. As you can see, construction on post is continuing, but will take years to complete. Housing officials say that if you want to get on-post housing, your status will change.
Now, the real rub that I've heard come up again and again and again is the whole idea that when the Army lease expires next November for the WDC properties, those families that are living there that are currently on the waiting list by choice as a priority 4 will become a priority 2 overnight because the housing is no longer Army-controlled, Army lease. It's a private apartment complex now, so by definition, that family on the list is a priority 2. What's also going to happen, though, when that priority changes from 4 to 2 is a new eligibility date is established, and it will be the date of the Army master lease expiration, 30 November 2007 for those 4 WDC properties that go first. With that eligibility date, you kind of go to the bottom of the wait list. Okay? But the policy was set in place to do it this way because we felt it was more appropriate to afford the incoming soldier, brand new to the 10th Mountain Division, new to the North Country, who's living in a motel, the higher position on the waiting list than a family that's already housed in an 801 community.
Corvo says the owners have told the Army they want to keep their Army families in the 801 properties. The Army continues to wait for their plan. Best advice, Corvo says, be patient. I'm Specialist Jacob Smathers.
For more information, call the number on your screen. The Department of Defense requires motorcyclists to take a 15-hour safety course before they can bring their bike onto post. I had the opportunity to meet with the Safety Command Officer that offers a course that tests basic cycling abilities.
This
is just one class that's required to meet for 15 hours. That means 3 consecutive evenings, 5 hours each, of learning how to handle a motorcycle.
The biggest pieces that we look at with them is the control of the clutch, maneuver, actual leaning maneuvers and stuff like that of the motorcycle.
Tom Wood is no stranger to the lessons of the road. He's an instructor and a rider. Tom takes his students step by step and wishes he could be there from the beginning.
Some of these guys are big guys, but still, when you don't know how to handle a motorcycle properly, it can get you in trouble awfully fast.
Instructors say that there are 2 types of drivers on these roadways. Those that ride for enjoyment, and then the T-type, or thrill seekers.
The thrill seeker, while they don't have a death wish, you see, the thrill seeker is the kind of individual that if they were up in an airplane and getting ready to jump out, parachute out, and you say, oh, by the way, young man or young lady, you know, Hank packed your chute and he has about a 50% rate of getting it right, they'll still jump because they don't realize the real threat of that until the chute doesn't open. And so when they're out riding, speed is not a factor to them. How they handle the bike is not, they don't see the hazards out in front of them. They're the types that will do the wheelie bars at 80 miles an hour, the back wheelie thing here. They'll try to max out the speed on the bike. If it's designed to go 200 miles an hour, they're going to see if it'll do 200 miles an hour.
While these students are going through their paces of walking a bike, turning, starting and stopping, the bottom line is control and being aware of others. The Command Safety Director adds that a quick movement from a motorist can force a cyclist to lose their balance and increase their risk of an accident. For more information or to register for the safety course, call the number on your screen. When you find yourself in the middle of a family dispute, neighbor trouble, or custody battle, where can you turn for help that won't cost you an arm or a leg? The Resolution Center in Jefferson County is a little-known agency aimed at helping 2 parties reach an agreement, and best of all, it's free.
Anyone who lives in Jefferson and Lewis counties, and that includes the post. You're living in Jefferson and Lewis counties, or if you live in a housing area or whatever. This is a confidential service also. So people who call up, we don't call the neighbors, we don't call other people and say, so-and-so just came in. This is an opportunity for the 2 people who have a conflict to sit down and discuss what's going on in a neutral setting with 2 mediators who are trained to make sure that both people have an opportunity to talk, and both people have an opportunity to listen, and then both people have an opportunity to create the solution that works for them. Not having somebody say, you will do this. And that's the beauty of what's involved with a mediation concept. It really develops a solution that is tailored for those individuals at that table, and we're very proud of that. When matters come before the police, they very often escalate. And the police aren't there as problem solvers. They're there as law enforcers. They would much rather see people solve their own conflicts. Fears about a family member going overseas are huge. There's so much baggage that goes along with this, and the stress levels and everything that happens as a result affects everyone in the house. And so to be able to remove yourself and not be in yelling mode all the time, this is a good thing. It's really important to be working on a solution constructively instead of feeling like everything's falling apart. That's part of the plan-making process. The problem is you can't just do it at a drop of a hat. And so it does take some planning. It doesn't take a long time, but it takes more than 2 weeks to come to the table. So you just can't come in on Friday and say, I need this by Monday. And as all soldiers know, they have a plan for the deployment, and so they just need to include the process for what is the future going to be for their children in their lives. So we can do things through the mail. In fact, we do. We conduct interviews with people over the phone and write these plans. So it really is a very big, important service that we have, and we're really glad to have this available, because who needs to have more worries when they're going overseas?
If all the parties are in agreement, we can communicate through email, preferably through phone calls, but we do understand that not everybody has access to a phone over there, so we will work with them via email, make sure they're in agreement, and then we just have all the parties here in the United States sign the petition, and then we will mail it to the soldier overseas.
The parent-teen, a lot of times, especially when there's, we say parent-teen, adolescent, a child at home that maybe some problems are exacerbated when the family situation and the dynamic in the household has changed, we can help out there with a parent-child mediation program where they can sit down together and just work out household rules, curfew, phone use, computer use, friends, school grades, and just come up with a little agreement within the family.
For more information, call the numbers on your screen or visit their website. When we come back, PFC John Cano tells us the personal touch is just what the doctor ordered.
Go to jail for a gun crime, and your family serves a sentence with you.
We have classes together, so we study together, we help each other with our homework, we remind each other. We've realized we messed up in the past, that we have to stay on task, and like after school, instead of doing something else, we will sit down and study with each other.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Have you been a dad today?
On September 15th, my son was sentenced to 10 years in prison for a gun crime. That day, he sentenced me to 10 years of worrying if my baby is okay.
When you commit a gun crime, your family pays the price.
Medical operations play an important role in the war against terrorism. They bring local Iraqi nationals closer to the coalition and Iraqi forces fighting to protect them. PFC John Cano shows us how soldiers with the 2nd BCT help Iraqis with what's ailing them.
The Golden Dragons of the 2nd Battalion, 14th Infantry Regiment have held Patrol Base Warrior Keep since the transfer of authority with the 2nd Brigade, 101st Airborne Division in September. The Dragons have made great strides in Sadr al-Yusufiyah with the citizens through persistent patrols and medical operations.
This is the second one we've done. This is a prior medical clinic here in the town. There is a doctor in town, but he doesn't live here. And we haven't been able to get medical supplies from his supplier in Yusufiyah through the Ministry of Health. So we bring our doctors down here, and their doctors, they've got, like I said, one doctor here and one local medic. And we kind of do it jointly. It's just a way of, if you think of it like an essential service, it's just a way of building that trust, doing some immediate medical care, giving out some medical supplies, and it's just good for the community, good for relations. But it's really just a temporary solution until we can get this medical clinic fully functional again.
The soldiers provided medical care for the locals, aiding them with coughs, flu-like symptoms, and burns. The soldiers also provided the Doc in a Box, a mobile dentist office to help alleviate any toothaches the Iraqis might have.
I think the Med-Op has a pretty large effect as far as letting them know that we're here to help them. We're here as their neighbor, and anything we can bring to the table to help in their situation is available. It's definitely better than when we got here. When we first got here, the whole town was not friendly at all. Nobody would want to be seen talking to us at all. Anytime we talked to people, it had to be in the middle of the night. And now, as you've seen today, people are very willing to come straight forward to talk to us about anything.
The Golden Dragons of Bravo Company will continue to support the citizens of Sadr al-Yusufiyah in order to build trust, which will enable the soldiers to better combat terrorism. Reporting for the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, this is Private First Class John Kano from Sadr al-Yusufiyah, Iraq.
A ceremony at Jalalabad Airfield in Afghanistan celebrated the life of a fallen soldier of the 3rd Squadron 71st Cavalry by renaming the facility in his honor. Specialist Eric Hendricks has more.
Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Fenty was respected and loved by all the men of 371 Cav.
Always told us, the only limitations that you have are the ones that you set on yourself.
Just a tremendous guy, tremendous leader, and I'll never forget him.
As commander, he and his battalion conducted operations from Noray, one of the forward-most bases in Afghanistan. On May 5, 2006, during a combat operation, the Chinook helicopter in which Colonel Fenty and 9 other soldiers were flying crashed. There were no survivors. Today, 1 year later, members of Colonel Fenty's unit, along with the 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, honored the man by renaming the facility at Jalalabad, Afghanistan, Forward Operating Base Fenty.
As a commander, he was at the top of his game. There were none better.
As a friend, I've had very few people who've affected me as much as Lieutenant Colonel Fenty.
I'm honored to be here today to help dedicate this airfield. But in my opinion, there's no monument monumental enough to bear his name in commemoration.
He instilled in me a sense of duty and pride that only a leader of his caliber could.
I am proud to have stood in the ranks of this brigade here, taking actions to honor the memory of my friend, my role model, Joe Fenty.
Soldiers of 371 lifted a parachute off the new welcome sign, signifying the change of name. The dedication ceremony today memorializes more than just the one. Today's event honors all those who have given their lives during the War on Terror. Reporting from Forward Operating Base Fenty, Afghanistan, Army Sergeant Eric Hendricks, 22nd MPET.
The Department of Defense recently announced a program to recognize service members who deploy or mobilize beyond their established rotation policy goals. If you would like more information about the Frequent Deployment Program, go to the DoD website at www.defenseleak.mil. Drive down Route 81 south, just past Watertown, and look right at the billboards. Mixed in with the restaurants and hotels are 2 signs that say thanks. Here they are, a note of thanks to the soldiers of the 10th Mountain Division and welcome home. Coming up, a new weekly segment for special cats and dogs who will be putting their best paw forward. We'll explain when we come back.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Have you been a dad today?
Low-fat cheese sandwiches on whole wheat bread are high in calcium to help build strong bodies. Can your food do that? Run, throw, think, eat better. Visit smallstep.gov.
Mrs. Johnson, good to see you again. This is Mike. You can trust him. He looks just like you. Plus, 2 against 1 is more intimidating when we force someone to sign a loan.
And I'll be sucking up to you in order to keep up the illusion.
So, here are your low monthly payments and interest rate as we promised. Here's where they triple. The rest of this stuff, I don't think a lawyer can read this. It protects us. Make sure we get your home when you can't pay us back.
Such a lovely house.
Yeah. But don't worry. We're going to sell you credit life insurance. You don't really need it, but...
Puts lots of cash in our pockets.
You look nervous. We better hurry and get you to sign. Or I'll pretend to ruin your credit with one phone call.
Predatory lenders are never this easy to spot. Call us and protect yourself with the facts.
I heard about this company dumping toxins in local rivers, and I called their executives to say stop. But they were too busy counting profits while the rivers are being destroyed, birds and fish are dying, and the local kids are getting cancer. So I organized a huge protest, and we actually got the company shut down. But now half the town's unemployed, and the kids are twice as sick since they can't get health care, since their parents lost the insurance they had when they worked for the company who dumped all the toxins in the first place.
Global warming. Some say irreversible consequences are 30 years away. 30 years? That won't affect me.
We at Drum TV have formed a partnership with the vet clinic to help find homes for dogs and cats that come to the clinic. With us today is Joanna with two very special pets up for adoption. Joanna?
This is Maverick. He is a long-haired male. He will be neutered either before or after you adopt him. But he's a sweet cat. He loves to be held like a baby. You can hold him any which way. He does not care. He will just fall asleep. Right now he's not feeling 100%. He came to us with an eye infection. So right now he's on antibiotics and some other kind of stuff to clear up his eyes. But he's 10 times better than what he was before. But he's good with other dogs. He is a little skittish at first, but he probably should warm up to them. I mean, he doesn't hiss at them right away. So that makes me think he will be good with other dogs. He's good with other cats. He always bats the other cats in the kennel here, trying to for them to pay attention to him. Yeah, like I said, he's going to be great with kids. I mean, you can hold him any which way. I was holding him like a baby, and he had all four paws sticking out, and he was dead asleep, but purring away. This is Simba. He's a 16th-month-old German Shepherd Lab mix. He is good with the other dogs. He gets excitable when he sees kids or anybody, more or less anybody he wants to play with. It's not aggressive in any manner. He's just going to bark at them and say, hey, come play with me. He would be an excellent PT partner for anybody who wants to run in the mornings or afternoons. He's still a young dog. He needs a little bit of obedience training just to get his basic commands down, but he would be an excellent dog and can go home any day now.
The fee for an adoption is $77. It includes updated shots, sterilization, microchips, and testing for various diseases. Most pets can be taken home the same day. If you're interested in either Maverick or Simba, or just want to take a look at one of the other animals, call 772-4262. We'll be right back.
When you fill someone's life with hope, you wind up adding a little more to your own. Help America's youth. Be a friend. Be a mentor. Just be there.
Go to bigbrothersbigsisters.org.
I'm tall enough to reach the monkey bars. I can reach anything on the counter, even things you think I can't. I can understand everything you S-P-E-L. I'm the tallest kid in my class. I'm getting pretty big, but to help me survive a car crash, I still need you to give me a boost.
Until they're 4'9", use a booster seat in the car, and don't let them down.
When I found out my jeans were made using child labor in sweatshops, I wrote a letter to the company saying, reconsider your labor practices. A few months later, I get a letter back saying, thanks for being a loyal customer, and they included a coupon for a 25% discount on their jeans. So I got smart, wrote letters every day to all the stores that carry the brand, asking them to stop supporting the companies who use child labor in sweatshops. And I just kept getting letters back, thanking me for my concerns, and more coupons for more discounts on more jeans. So I'm telling my friend about it, and she flips out, saying that between all the letters and coupons, some paper company cut down a small forest. driving off 2 indigenous tribes, hundreds of endangered animals, killing thousands of plant species, some of which may have contained vaccines for HIV, cancer, and syphilis. Meanwhile, the guys cutting down the trees are 13-year-old kids who will work night and day for months just to save up enough money to buy a pair of jeans made by child labor in sweatshops.
And 7 years ago.
Think history is a little scary? Then log on to LOC.gov and see how much fun it can be. The Library of Congress at LOC.gov.
Here's just some of the events happening over the next few days on Post.
In this week's community calendar, May 12th, Military Family Appreciation Day from 1 to 5 at the Pine Plains Complex. There'll be swimming, basketball tournaments, bowling, and a lot more. And then the next day, head over to the Commons for a Mother's Day brunch buffet. 2 seating times, 11 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. On the 16th, it's the Pulitzer Prize-nominated author, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. He'll be talking about deployments, coping skills, and making reunions a lot better. That's 5/16, also at the Commons. 2 opportunities to meet him, 10 and 1 p.m. And then at 7:15 on the 16th, a 4.2-mile run at the Cross Country Trail. Call the sports office for more information at 772-6611. And then later that evening, a free USO show at the Commons, 7 o'clock, doors open at 6.
And finally, Operation Cause for Paws, an event aimed at giving a helping hand or paw to the animals and their supporters at the veterinary clinic here on Post. Runners took to the roadway in a 10K, 5K, and a mile, and some brought along support on 4 legs. This project was spearheaded by MWR and 1st Brigade.
Vet clinic needs a little bit extra money to accomplish the things that they want. They're working to build an addition because of the number of animals that they're seeing. So this is an opportunity really for the community to come together and help out the veterinary clinic.
Over 700 participants made the commitment to help those animals housed at the veterinary clinic. The money raised will help cover the rising cost of food and medical care. That's this week's edition of Drum TV, your source of information for soldiers, families, and civilians. Tell us what's going on, and we'll tell others. I'm Specialist Luke Allen.